30 teams in the NBA battle it out for playoff seeding throughout the NBA season. However, once you make it into the postseason, you have to be playing your best basketball to have any chance at winning the NBA title. Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks have pulled off this feat once before back in 2021, but with a new addition of Damian Lillard, this Bucks team looks primed to go for the franchise's third title. In today's video, we go over why the Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in the Eastern Conference and what makes this team so special. The Bucks offense in the season prior of Giannis, Jrue Holiday and Khris Middleton was lackluster at times, ranking 6th overall in points per game. However, it felt like at times that these points would come almost exclusively either in transition or a drive and kick opportunity, as their half-court offense was not functioning at times, which was a major contributor to their loss against the Miami Heat in the first round of the postseason. The idea behind the trade for Damian Lillard is simple. You bring in a superstar player who can run your offense at the highest level. Although trading away Holiday made their defense significantly worse, the idea is that if you can have a top 3 offense in the league while having an average defense, it's a much better outlook than to be struggling to score. The health of Khris Middleton is also a huge reason why the Bucks pulled the pin on this Damian Lillard trade. In the 2022 playoffs, Middleton went down with a knee injury in the opening round, leaving Holiday to step up as the Bucks' number 2 option on offense. The Bucks managed to beat the Bulls 4-1. However, the Celtics posed a much greater threat. On the series, Jrue put up 21 points a game on an ugly 36% shooting. The result of a poor shooting performance saw the Bucks lose a 7-game series, even though Giannis was able to put up 35 and 15, dominating the Celtics. The lack of a secondary scoring option had never been more prominent for this team than that Celtics series. In the 2021 playoff run, it was Khris Middleton who was able to maintain his health, as he was instrumental to the Bucks winning their first title in over 50 seasons. In Game 4 of the NBA Finals, Middleton put up 46 and 4, shooting 45% from the field to tie the series. The outside scoring problems of the past shouldn't be much of a concern when you have Middleton and Lillard connecting on downtown triples. The pair have both shot above 36% from 3 on their careers, making this Bucks offense deadly to say the least. Adding guys like Malik Beasley and Brook Lopez who can both shoot the lights out from deep also, the floor spacing for Giannis has never been better. In the quarterfinals of the in-season tournament versus the New York Knicks, the Bucks offense made history. It was the first time the Knicks had given up 37 points in the first 3 quarters of a game since 1962, where Wilt Chamberlain had his 100-point game. But now we have to talk about the other side of the floor, and that's defense. Bucks fans have been treated to an elite level defense since the trade for Jrue Holiday, as the Bucks consistently ranked in the top 5 in points allowed, thanks to the tenacious defense that Holiday would bring on a night-to-night basis. However, since the Damian Lillard trade, the defense has been well below league average. In the first few weeks of the NBA season, the defense is ranked 29th overall, only ahead of the Indiana Pacers. Earlier in the season, the runner-up defensive player of the year of the season prior, Brook Lopez, wasn't playing his usual drop coverage, as he was trying to guard guys out in the perimeter and it just was not working. The coaching staff made an adjustment and Brook Lopez would be back in his drop coverage in the first game against the New York Knicks. Since this move, the Bucks defense continues to climb in the rankings, as at the time of making this video, the Bucks have the 24th best defense in basketball. Even though Brook Lopez has been moved back into his drop coverage, the Bucks defensive scheme is completely different. In years past, they would have let the opposition come to them, but now they're playing a much more physical style of defense, designed to force turnovers and get out in transition. So far, this defense hasn't been anywhere near its full potential, as with every game that they have under their belt, their chemistry will get better and better on that side of the floor. During fourth quarters, this defense has actually been above league average, as in the clutch, this team has been good in basically every facet of the game. Bench players like Jay Crowder and Pat Connaughton will need to provide solid perimeter defense while of course knocking down their open 3-point looks. If Milwaukee can enter the playoffs with a 15th ranked offense, they'll feel good about their chances about raising the 3rd banner. The Dame and Giannis pairing is really beginning to find some chemistry, but both Giannis, Lillard and Buck fans will tell you that it's a little clunky at times. Milwaukee's best player with Dame so far this season has been the screener role with Brook Lopez. Brook has a similar game to Nurkic, so it makes sense. However, when it comes to the Giannis and Dame pick and roll, it seems like there's been a lot of miscommunications and a lot of bad plays made out of it. A prime example of a bad play out of this pick and roll from Dame and Giannis would be in the first game against the New York Knicks. Giannis sets a high screen for Lillard, but then he doesn't roll for Dame. When Dame looks up and doesn't see Giannis, he's in no man's land and is forced to kick the ball back out to Brook, who is in the corner. With only seconds left, he loses it out of bounds late in the game. In the situation, Giannis needs to move after he sets a screen, as it looked like he was trying to not step on Dame's toes and expecting him to just make a play. In a play where this pick and roll between them worked was against the Miami Heat. Again, Giannis sets a high pick and roll for Dame virtually in the same spot, but this time Dame rejects the screen and drives toward the middle of the floor. Although the play doesn't directly result in a score, it draws 4 Miami defenders, leaving Middleton and Lopez alone on the weak side. Dame reads this to perfection, kicking it out to Middleton, who attacks the closeout and draws a crowd, as he finds a cutting Lopez who has a wide open dunk. This was a huge play down the stretch that virtually sealed the deal. Giannis is the backbone and the heart of this team, as he's proven that he's capable of leading this team to a title. With a starting lineup of Damian Lillard, Malik Beasley, Khris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Brook Lopez, the Milwaukee Bucks are not only my pick to make it out of the Eastern Conference, but also my NBA title favorites. In the Eastern Conference, the Bucks would likely have to beat Philadelphia, Boston, and Miami. First, let's look at the Miami Heat matchup, as it's the team who sent Milwaukee home last postseason. The Heat shot the lights out of the three ball in the series, as Duncan Robinson shot a near 70% from the three, which is not human. In the series, Jimmy Butler was guarded by Jrue Holiday, which didn't go well, as Jimmy Butler was just too big and too strong for Jrue. In recent years before this, though, Giannis had guarded Butler one-on-one, with much success. The length, strength, and athleticism of Giannis on the defensive side of the floor was just too overwhelming for Jimmy in the past. As in the first matchup of this regular season, we saw this go into effect. Giannis guarded Jimmy Butler in single coverage, forcing him into uncomfortable looks as Butler ended the night with only 13 points, shooting only 36% from the field. With a more down-to-earth shooting performance from the Heat, and Giannis being fully healthy and guarding Jimmy Butler, I would say that the Bucks would win this series in roughly 5 to 6 games. Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid have never met in the postseason. We can only hope that this is the season that we have an Embiid Antetokounmpo showdown, as it could make for one of the most entertaining series we have ever seen. During the regular season, these matchups have produced epic thrillers, as this is a series that we are dying to see at some point. In the season opener, Milwaukee were just too good for Philadelphia, as it was Dame time down the stretch as he scored 14 clutch points. However, this was the Sixers team before the James Harden trade, who were lacking depth and a vision. Now with new added pieces such as Nicholas Batum and Robert Covington, the Sixers have been much better since. After the trade, the Sixers would go on an 8-game winning streak, dominating the Eastern Conference for the #1 seed. In a series, Joel Embiid would have to play the best basketball of his life, as the front court of Antetokounmpo and Brook Lopez would make it incredibly difficult to score effectively. While in the backcourt battle, Maxey would need to take the load off of Embiid with his scoring. Being guarded by Beasley or Lillard is a great opportunity for Tyrese Maxey to lead the Sixers in scoring. DeAnthony Melton would take the duties of guarding Damian Lillard, while in the series, Maxey and Lillard would have to aim to outscore each other, making it a tough series for Philadelphia to win. Embiid would have to take the challenge to help guard Giannis, making him exert energy on both sides of the ball. Khris Middleton would be the answer to this series, as with all the attention on Giannis and Dame, he'd have plenty of space to work, while also being guarded by Tobias Harris. Khris would likely average over 20 points a game on the series, and could be the reason that the Bucks get over the hump. The most anticipated matchup in the East is Boston versus Milwaukee. In recent games, the Celtics have owned the Bucks, winning 5 out of the last 6 games. And the only win was in Milwaukee with only one Celtics starter available, and that was Derek White. And to make matters worse for Milwaukee, Boston was still able to push this to overtime. However, in the one game this season, Milwaukee struggled in the first quarter, being outscored 17-29. However, in the 3 quarters after that, it was actually the Bucks who would outscore Boston 99-90, as Lillard led the Bucks back into the game. Unfortunately for Milwaukee, the first quarter hole that they dug themselves was just too deep to overcome, losing by only 3 points. As soon as Dame had the ball in his hands, something good would happen every time. While Brook Lopez would lead the Bucks in scoring, finishing with 28 points, dominating Kristaps Porzingis down low. The poor shooting performance so far this season from Jrue Holiday makes the trade look even better, as on the season, Jrue has only shot 42% from the field with just 12 points to his name, which was down from his 19 points with the Bucks a season prior. However, the backcourt duo of Derek White and Jrue Holiday is probably the best defensive backcourt you could ever have to counter Damian Lillard. Both White and Holiday are defensive team members who combine for 2 steals and 2 blocks a game, which might not look too impressive, but is what doesn't show up on the stat sheet that makes them such good defenders, from playing suffocating on-ball defense and chase down blocks. Damian Lillard would have to be at his very best to score more than 25 points a game in the series, but that's just it. Now with all the star talent around Dame, he doesn't have to score the ball, as his playmaking for Giannis and Khris could be the Celtics' undoing. Dame should look to average north of 10 assists per game, as Boston isn't equipped to guard Giannis and Dame while looking out for Middleton and Lopez. When we talk about projections for the rest of the season for this Bucks team, I expect the chemistry between Damian Lillard and Giannis to grow every single game, as the Bucks should expect to be the 2nd or 3rd seed for me. The reason that I don't believe the Bucks being the 1 seed is that I believe the Celtics are going to be a much better regular season team and hunt down the #1 seed, whereas Milwaukee will be fine with the 2nd or 3rd seed, as we all know what happened last season when they had the 1 seed. As if you use all your energy getting the 1 seed and you get eliminated in the first round, does it even really matter? Do you think the Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in the NBA? And do you think that Damian Lillard could win his first NBA championship? Let me know in the comments below.